Good evening, Zion Wayside. Wednesday night is here, and we are ready for another Wednesday night devotion. Pastor Kyle here with you tonight, as we're going to talk about something kind of simple, yet something that is so easily confused. And we see it so easily confused, especially in the life of the disciples. Now, as I think about this now, I feel like sometimes we read the scriptures and hear what Peter has to say, or hear what other disciples have to say, and we give them a hard time, and we think, how can you not see it? You know, how can you not see who Jesus is and what he's doing? He's telling you right up front, and that's kind of what we're getting into today. But as we think about our lives, sometimes we just need to take something as it is. Uh, and that's a lot easier said than done. So let's take a look at it in light of first the Pharisees and Sadducees, and then especially in light of Peter and the disciples. We are in the book of Matthew, starting in chapter 16, but it's always important to understand our context. So the book of Matthew, especially as we get into Jesus' ministry, it starts with Jesus being tempted and Jesus' baptism. And then his ministry really begins from there. So Jesus goes into the cities, into the villages, and he's teaching, and he's doing miracles, and he's healing people, and he's casting out demons. And you hear those things and can't help but think, it's obvious. How do you not know that Jesus is God? We're going to get into it. Jesus even says he is. And yet so many people are hung up on that. So let's get into it. So this is the beginning of chapter 16 here in the book of Matthew. And the Pharisees and Sadducees came to test him. They asked him to show them a sign from heaven. He answered them, "When it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning it will be stormy today, for the sky is red and threatening. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. An evil and adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah." So he left them and departed. Again, what has Jesus been doing throughout his entire ministry? Signs. He's been doing miracles. He's proven his power and authority over sickness. He's proven his power and authority over physical ailments. He's proven his power and authority over creation. And the Pharisees and Sadducees, that's not good enough. In their instance, it's because they feel threatened. They feel that their authority is being threatened by this guy who's gained a large following, and he's doing things that they can't do, and he's outwitting them. Many times we see them come before Jesus, and it says exactly that, to test him. They want to get him to slip up, and it just doesn't happen. They see what Jesus has done and don't accept it. Don't accept him for who he says he is. Let's keep going. This is really interesting here. We're still in the same chapter, and we get this pretty famous passage where Peter confesses Jesus as the Christ. So you see here, Jesus says to them, "But who do you say that I am?" And Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And you hear that, and you think, wow, he's got it. He's right, because he is. He is right. Jesus is the Christ. He is the Son of God. And you'd think this is the turning point. This is where Peter, something clicked. He finally gets it. And so what does Jesus do? He goes on to tell them who he is and to explain what he is here to accomplish. And of course, you can see the title. He foretells his death and resurrection. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter, here we go, Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. he began to rebuke him, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord. This shall never happen to you." Peter has just confessed who he believes Jesus to be, and Jesus, who Peter has confessed to be the Christ and the Son of God, now tells him what he's going to do, which includes being raised from the dead, by the way. And he says, "No, I'm not going to let this happen." And what does Jesus say? "Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man." So Peter, even after acknowledging who Jesus is, still has his own thoughts on what Jesus is here to do, who Jesus is, and what he is here to accomplish, and how he is going to accomplish that. He still hasn't quite gotten it. And then Jesus says, "Take up your cross." He describes to Peter what it means to be a disciple. Matthew 17, the very next chapter. So not too long after that, in fact, after 6 days, we see the transfiguration. Another instance where Jesus proves he is who he says he is. And who's there? Peter. Peter and James and John. And Peter is there and sees what happens. And behold, there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with him being Jesus. And Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you and one for Moses and one for Elijah." He was still speaking when, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." Okay? So this is the transfiguration. Jesus is there with Moses and Elijah, and God the Father says, in referring to Jesus, "This is my Son, with whom I am well pleased." And Peter is there to witness that. Okay, this has to be the moment, right? This just has to be it, where Peter finally understands who Jesus is. What do we get again? Again, Jesus says what he is going to do. Now here's where things get interesting. In the beginning of chapter 18, we hear a question from who? The disciples, that proves he still doesn't get it. He's still concerned about himself. He's still concerned about the way that he wants things to be done. And so they ask the question, who is the greatest? Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And calling to him a child, Jesus being him, he put him in the midst of them and said, "Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Why? Well, let's do this. Put yourself in the disciples' shoes. What would your response be, or what would your reaction be to Jesus' words here? It would be shock. Shock. Here I am, a disciple, well, first of all, I'm a grown man. I'm a disciple. I've been following Jesus this whole time. And you want me to be like a child? A child is the greatest? No, I think I'm the greatest. I've been following you this whole time. I've been hearing your teaching. I think I'm the greatest. And Jesus says, no. Humble yourself, turn, become like children. Why? Because children tend to believe something to be what it actually is. If Jesus told a 2-year-old that he is God, child's probably going to buy it. You could tell a child a bunch of crazy things. You've probably done it before. Everybody plays games, right? They're going to believe it. There's an innocence there. There's humility there. And that's what Jesus is getting at. This humility that it takes in faithfulness. As a result of the faithfulness we have, there is humility that comes with that, because our faithfulness puts off our story, kind of getting into our sermon series a little bit, puts off our desires, our wants. So for Peter, puts off what he has envisioned Jesus to be, but takes Jesus for who he is, takes Jesus for what he came to do, takes Jesus at his word. And that is the act of humility that comes with faith, the faith of a child. So think about everything that's going on in your life. With everything that's been going on, our lives look a lot different than they did a few months ago. And change seems to be happening all the time. Well, guess what still remains the truth? Jesus is who he says he is. Jesus is who the scriptures tell him to be. Jesus is who Paul, in all of his letters to the various churches, Jesus is who he says he is. Go into the Old Testament and all the prophecies about the Savior, the Messiah that is to come. Jesus is who those prophecies say he is. God does what he does for you. Jesus did what he did for you, that you might be forgiven. So let our faith tell of Jesus, and tell of Jesus because he is who he says he is. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll hope to see you this Sunday in worship, 7:45, 9:30, and 11. We'll see you soon. God bless.